What is going on? Today we are talking about the top 5 most unwatchable teams in the NBA. These teams are just downright bad. Their game sucks, it's just not enjoyable to watch, and there's no point in watching it unless you're a fan of these teams. Let's get right into the top 5. At number 5, I have the Washington Wizards. As a team that has so much talent on their roster, they're just so frustrating to watch. And it's just not fun to watch the Wizards play, as they're about to probably pay Porzingis and maybe even Kuzma crazy contracts this offseason. Plus, they just paid Beal this crazy contract to carry him to the playoffs. And this team can't even make the play-in. They are sitting around the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they're just too talented to be that low. This team is just frustrating to watch. They will come out at a blistering pace and then blow the lead through the entire second half. Wes Unseld Jr. gets outcoached in the second half of every single game, and it's just not enjoyable to watch at this point. The reason they end up at 5th is most of these teams are bottom feeders in the NBA because they're just not very good. But the Washington Wizards are kind of close to that, but they're still in a play-in race, and honestly they have too much talent to be a bottom feeder, and that is a big issue for Washington going forward. At number 4, I have the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs only make it this high on the list because, to be honest, there is 3 teams that are just absolutely not possible to watch at the current moment. And they have at least a little bit of entertaining with Kendon Johnson doing whatever he can to at least make him look good. He's averaging like 20-some-odd points a game. Also, every now and then, Jeremy Sotan or something like that. Anyway, the guy with the hair that people keep comparing him to Dennis Rodman. They do make the Spurs entertaining from time to time. Plus, Greg Popovich as a head coach just makes you kind of want to watch him just because he's such an iconic head coach. But at the same time, this team is just downright bad. They're actually already one of the first 3 teams eliminated from playoff contention. They only have 17 wins this year, and they've been a little bit more entertaining than the 3 teams underneath them, but they still have been downright bad, which is why they end up in this position instead of higher up in these rankings, because I just think there's 3 teams much worse than they are. At number 3 is the Charlotte Hornets, with LaMelo going down with his injury and Miles Bridges, or not Miles, but Miles, it is Miles, sorry. Miles Bridges just doing whatever the hell he's been doing. It's just made this team boring. You know, Rozier and Oubre puts up like nothing stats because they don't win. They just look bad. They're honestly a team not worth watching. Without LaMelo being out there, the Charlotte Hornets are very boring, very uninspired. And it's kind of like with some other teams, if a major player gets hurt, like let's take Dallas. If Luka went down, I wouldn't care to watch Dallas. I mean, even with Kyrie, but it just, you know, you lose your major player. It is hard to come back from that, especially when you don't have any other decent name player on your roster. And I don't really care what Rozier and Oubre is doing because honestly, they're just putting up nothing stats as they don't win games. They don't really play great defense. It's just generally not worth watching, and that is kind of where I am with the Charlotte Hornets this season. If LaMelo is here, I don't think they make this list, even if they were bad, because him alone makes the team more entertaining. And that's what carries some of these bad teams, is just one player, and that's how the Hornets make it this list, because they're just boring without LaMelo. At number 2 is the Detroit Pistons. With Cade Cunningham going down with his injury, there's absolutely really no reason to watch this team. The only reason they're not number 1 is because there is one team in the league that is just even worse. Because at least with the Detroit Pistons at this point, trading for James Wiseman gives you a little bit of a reason to watch, as he has had some decent performances getting on a team where he's going to get a ton of play time because they're just not that good. On top of the fact that Jaden Ivey also makes some games entertaining for them. But either way, neither of those 2 guys are enough for me to go sit down and watch the Detroit Pistons play day in and day out. If Cade was there, I would be watching more consistently, and I don't think they would make this list. There's a possibility they still do because one player might not turn the entire team around, unlike with the Charlotte Hornets, because at least with LaMelo, it is more entertaining than with Cade. But it's still a much better team and a much more enjoyable watch if Cade was on this team. However, he is just not. And for obvious reasons, number 1 is the Houston Rockets. There's not much saving this team. This team does not play defense. It's just not fun to watch. It's a terrible team they're putting out there week in and week out. This team just underperforms. Sengun is realistically the only real product on this team that is consistently enjoyable to watch. and even that isn't enjoyable enough for me to tune into Rocket games. Every now and then you get a crazy game out of Jalen Green or Jabari Smith Jr., but with all that young talent on their team, particularly those three guys, I mean, given that I can't name three players on the Charlotte Hornets or Detroit Pistons without Cade or LaMelo, but I can name three players on the Rockets, it's pretty sad given the fact that they're just that bad. And they're just not fun to watch. I mean, the lack of defense on that team is just awful. You know, I get some teams like the Kings don't really play great defense, but at least they have the best offense to counter that attack. And that's just something that the Rockets don't have going for them. And it's just, they are the most unwatchable team in the NBA this season. If you guys enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. Leave a like, comment, tell me what you guys think down below, and I'll see you in the next one.